Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Henriksen and I am the Health Educator for Sexual Violence Prevention here at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. I also co-facilitate the Healthy Choices Task Force. Now, we all know that relationships are absolutely vital to our human existence. Unfortunately, not every relationship has a positive impact on our lives. Now, at this point, I do want to give a warning. During this video, I'm going to be talking about different types of interpersonal violence. And unfortunately, I know that most of us have probably been impacted by them in some way, shape, or form. Whether it was us ourselves who were in an unhealthy relationship or someone that we know and care about. Either way, this video may be triggering to some. So I want you to do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. And always remember that our counselors at the Wellness Center are happy to help. Interpersonal violence, unfortunately, is a huge issue among college-age individuals. But there is good news. We can all play a role in preventing violence on our campus. This series of videos is going to talk about what interpersonal violence is, what bystander intervention is, what are some barriers to intervening, and how we can overcome those barriers. So first, what exactly is interpersonal violence? It's important for us to all be on the same page about what exactly I'm talking about when I use that term. So I'm talking about sexual violence, domestic, relationship or dating violence, sexual harassment, and stalking. Sexual violence refers to any type of sexual contact without consent. So this could be anything from inappropriate or unwanted touching to rape. And then there's that word that we've heard a million times, consent. So what exactly is consent? An easy way that I like to remember it is to think fries, F-R-I-E-S. So F, it's freely given. There's no coercion, there's no pressure, and importantly, the person is not under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Second, R, it's reversible. This means that it can be revoked at any time. The person is free to change their mind. Third, I, it's informed. The person knows exactly what it is they're consenting to. Fourth, E, it's enthusiastic. That means there's no hesitation, there's no there's no I'm not sure's. You're sure that they want to do it. And finally, fifth, S, it's specific. Consent to one activity is not the same as consent to every activity. Domestic violence, relationship violence, and dating violence all refer to the same types of violent behavior. This is going to be a pattern of ongoing violent behaviors that one adult exerts over another adult as a form of control. Now, when we think about domestic violence, we often think about physical violence, and that's certainly one piece. However, it could also be economic abuse, sexual abuse, verbal, mental abuse, or stalking. And also, when we think about domestic violence, we tend to think about married couples. Again, that's one piece. However, domestic just means within the same household. So this, in a college setting, for example, could also refer to roommates. Now, obviously, relationship and dating violence are talking more about two individuals who are in some type of intimate or romantic relationship. Sexual harassment refers to intentional verbal or physical conduct or some other type of behavior that demeans an individual based off of things like their gender, gender identity, or sexual orientation. And there are two main types that we want to be aware of. So the first is known as hostile environment. And this is when someone creates an environment that is so intimidating or demeaning that it interferes with a person's ability to engage in academic or work activities. The other type is, I think, what a lot of us think about when we hear the term sexual harassment. And this is known as quid pro quo. So this comes into play when there's this imbalance of powers. And one person is basing employment or educational decisions based off of a request for sexual favors. Finally is stalking. Stalking refers to repeated harassment that causes the victim fear. So this is one that we tend to use pretty loosely to describe pretty innocent behaviors. So for example, you may say that you stalked your friend's new partner when all you really did was look at their Instagram from the past 2 years. It's a little creepy, but it's not what we're talking about here. This behavior is some that causes the victim to fear for their safety. A lot of times we think about the physical stalking of following someone, showing up outside of their dorm or their classroom, and that's one piece. But it could also be sending someone unwanted gifts, or constantly texting them and harassing them, or even having someone else contact them on your behalf. The last thing that I want to mention is that a lot of times we tend to talk about interpersonal violence in terms of a female victim and a male perpetrator. Now, of course, this scenario happens way too frequently, but it's important to keep in mind that anyone can be affected regardless of gender, race, sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion, relationship status. Unfortunately, anyone could be a victim or a perpetrator. So now that we know what interpersonal violence refers to, check out our next video to talk about the basics of bystander intervention.